There is a recurring question among the fans of the Prancing Horse. Why did Ferrari completely overhaul the layout of the car after finishing second in the 2024 Formula One Constructors Championship, just 14 points behind McLaren? In the last year of the ground effect regulations, the Italian side decided to redesign its car, introducing 99% new components according to Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur himself. This issue has been widely debated not only on social media but also among various insiders. Why wasn't the SF-24 development continued, especially considering it finished last season close to the McLaren cars, while the SF-25, after 3 races, has plummeted to 4th place among the top teams with a drastic drop in competitiveness? Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have already accumulated a 76-point deficit to McLaren in the Constructors Championship ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, having scored only 35 points so far compared to 111 from the Woking team, while Mercedes has earned 75 points and Red Bull, which runs only one car in the top 10, Max Verstappen's, has accumulated 61 points. There could not have been a worse start for the Maranello team, but the Italian side never considered deploying a carryover car. The arrival of Lewis Hamilton was an additional push to aim for a leap in quality, with the belief that Ferrari could aim for 2 world championships before the drastic regulatory changes expected for the 2026 Formula One season. So why was the 2025 car redesigned? The answer is very simple. The SF-24 had very few possibilities for aerodynamic improvement, and its development would have been limited compared to the evolution that rivals had planned. The choice therefore was right, and in the 2025 budget cap, a significant amount was allocated to approve a new chassis with the cockpit moved further back and a shorter, sleeker gearbox. The idea was to shift the weight distribution slightly toward the rear in order to offer more freedom to the aerodynamic team led by Diego Tondi. The SF-25 single-seater was designed to be under the weight limit of 800 kilograms to have the option of achieving the right balance by introducing ballast in the front wing, allowing the 0.5% weight distribution tolerance permitted by the regulations to be adjusted as desired. Additionally, the aerodynamic department had requested the chassis chief, Fabio Montecchi, to switch from the traditional push-rod front suspension to a pull-rod system, already in use by Red Bull and McLaren. The needs, therefore, were not mechanical, but stemmed from the belief that wind tunnel testing could yield more downforce for performance. And evidently, the data emerging from the winter simulations had to be positive compared to the SF-24, fueling the championship hopes that were repeatedly raised by the drivers and team leaders. In China and Japan, we saw F1 cars that were about 1.5 seconds faster than the previous year, which is a huge improvement considering that, usually, by the end of a regulatory cycle, only a few tenths are found because teams are already scraping the barrel with mature cars. However, the house of cards began to collapse during the preseason testing session at the Bahrain International Circuit, when it became clear that McLaren was more competitive and Ferrari was struggling. Initially, attention was focused on the pull rod suspension. With the new setup, there might have been a need to adjust the setup, as very different stiffness adjustments are required. But the issue with the SF-25 car was not found there. Observers then shifted their focus to the rear end, pointing to the transmission. The miniaturized carbon gearbox could suffer damaging torsions, preventing the rear from being sufficiently stiff to make the car responsive in direction changes, resulting in annoying understeer that was heavily criticized by the drivers. The Ferrari SF-25 car was designed to be focused on the front, as both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton prefer, with great corner entry. But in reality, it has significantly improved in high-speed sections, thanks to good aerodynamic efficiency, while it has lost its traction and handling in low-speed corners. So, what is missing for Ferrari? One might say the aerodynamic downforce that presses the car onto the track surface and generates the energy to transfer to the tires. Without enough downforce, the team is forced to use minimal ground clearance, knowing that the closer the car is to the ground, the more the floor can create downforce. But the wear on the plank has to be taken into account. The FIA allows consumption of one of the 10 mm thickness of the plank, after which disqualifications are triggered, as happened to Lewis Hamilton in China. Beyond the embarrassment that a prestigious team like Ferrari shouldn't allow, it is evident that finding immediate countermeasures is not easy. The first upgrade package for the SF-25 was scheduled for Imola at the debut of the European season, but after the Sakir tests, it is possible that the development plans were brought forward based on what emerged from the wind tunnel work. So we can expect modifications to the floor in Bahrain along with other details, but it's hard to think the gap to the MCL39 and the improved Red Bull can be closed in one go, because the 3/4 gap is not easy to reduce, as others won't stand still either. The fourth round of the season will therefore mark the introduction of Ferrari's first update package. The start of the F1 Championship has been disappointing compared to the end of the 2024 championship, which had raised hopes for a strong continuation in 2025. The goal now is to quickly get back on track and prove the ability to improve during the season, while also addressing the issues currently limiting the performance of the SF-25, which has fallen behind McLaren after closely contending for the championship just a few months ago. In the Bahrain paddock, among the cars under the spotlight is certainly the Ferrari SF-25, which will be fitted here with a new floor that, as confirmed by Lewis Hamilton, should increase the aerodynamic load currently available on his car. At the same time, Charles Leclerc also stated that the updates are unlikely to close the 3/4 gap to McLaren at the moment, but he confirmed that they are a big step forward. As anticipated, the updates concern the entire floor, with changes from the Venturi channels all the way to the rear diffuser. Lewis Hamilton's car was seen in the Bahrain pit lane yesterday afternoon, already fitted with the new component, which differs significantly from the version installed on Charles Leclerc's car, which will be driven by Dino Beganovic during FP1 today. At the moment, it has not been possible to clearly see the Venturi channel inlets, as they remain covered by the front wing, but from a side view, a change to the central strake is already noticeable. It now extends beyond the top edge of the floor for the first time this year. There are evident changes to the steps of the outer fence, which protects the Venturi inlets from the harmful turbulence generated by the front tires, and the rear section no longer features the serrated design seen at the start of the season. The design of the first part of the floor's edge has been completely changed as well, bringing it closer to the solutions used by the top teams. The raised lip of the floor edge and the strakes that manage airflow have been revised. There are now 3 vortex-generating elements. The rear portion of the lip has also been extended toward the back area of the floor edge wing. In the monopylon area, where a minor modification was expected, a new aerodynamic appendage can be seen at the base of the structure, to the sides of the exhaust, which will clearly influence both the hot air exiting the engine cover and the air channeled downward from the tray, directing it toward the top part of the diffuser and the beam wing. This is a refinement of a winglet Ferrari had already installed last year on the monopylon at the Australian GP. The diffuser of the SF-25 has been completely redesigned and, as expected, is the area most affected by this update package. The keel shape is significantly different, with more compact dimensions compared to the base version used during pre-season testing in Bahrain. This marks the first major revision of the car. As previously mentioned, a new brake cooling duct will also be introduced in the rear area. The first free practice session will clearly be focused on data collection and studying the updates, with Dino Beganovic running the standard version of the SF-25, while Lewis Hamilton will debut the new parts. This first update package is important, as the drivers have suggested, to try to reduce the gap to the leading car, in this case McLaren, and to help define the development plan for the rest of the season. The Ferrari engineers and technicians, led by Loic Serra and Diego Tondi, are already working on a second major aerodynamic package, which will only be validated and approved after analyzing the data gathered in Bahrain and the following GPs.